Yay. Okay, that's exciting. We're having weird speaker things, but as long as people can hear the voices, then we're good. Sweet.
There we go. We're ready?
Here
we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the KW Roundup, March 19th. God, time is flying. I want to introduce two new agents to KW. Caitlin Courtney, she's right there on Zoom. Everybody say hello. Welcome her. And when you see her, Quinn. I'm sorry, Caitlin. I don't know why I said Courtney. I apologize.
Close.
And Justin Poinson right here. Please make sure you say hello. They just started this week. We are so happy to have you aboard.
Now, I can't do this so it doesn't bug you, or you can't really work, so.
You're gonna have.
Marcia. Marcia. Her and Tom having a conversation.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. So welcome, you guys, and make sure that you make these people welcome as well, and say hello and introduce yourselves when you have a moment. On to the next. Where are we?
We are going to learn stuff. How about that?
Okay, everybody's heard about it. Are we going right into NAR?
I was going to do that value squared class,
Okay,
and
let's
then
look at it.
so we will make sure my audio hasn't messed up this video. So Gary, Jason, and Jay are doing a class called Value Squared, which kind of gives a little bit of an overview there with, all the NAR stuff and settlements and things. Being able to explain your value to your agents is a huge thing. So this is online, live with Gary and Jason, and it's from 10 to 2 on the 26th. And super valuable. So we're going to have that in the office. If you want to join, it's also on Zoom. You have to register. So make sure to do that. And
it's free. It's free, and it's going to be here in lieu of contracts class and also the KW Roundup. So we're going to be presenting it right here from 10 to 2 next week.
Yep.
Valuable, because I know a lot of people have questions on the new NAR stuff. So speaking of which, let's take a look at this video quickly.
So let me share again, whatever my Zoom people went. Okie dokie.
Hey gang, Jason Abrams coming to you, and I want to talk about a very important topic. That topic is value. Our industry is ever evolving. Today more than ever, real estate agents must understand not only what their value is, but how to explain that value to a potential client. You see, the challenge of all businesses is that we have to articulate our value before our customer or client ever experiences it. And that's what our course Value Squared is all about. We're going to be covering from top to bottom. What is our value to both buyers and sellers? How is that value explained? How do we build trust with clients during and after and even before the transaction? And most importantly, we're going to talk about cooperative compensation. What are the words that we use around it, and how do we think about our strategies? Friends, Value Squared is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to assess where we are, but more importantly, about planning where we're going. Join us. Click the link below, and it's going to bring up all the dates that we're going to be teaching it. Gary, Jay, and I will be coming you directly from KWRI. We're excited about it. We hope you are too.
Awesome. This is going to be such a valuable learning tool for everyone right
Yes.
now. So next Tuesday from 10 to 2 right here in the classroom or on Zoom. If you can make it, I mean, I would strongly suggest
They
it
are
for sure.
also holding that same thing on April 10th and April 25th or whatever. I just registered for this first one and for April 10th. This was the only one that was on a Tuesday when everybody's gonna be here anyway, so I thought that might be the best day to get everybody together.
Yeah, and then you could talk about it with other people and give opinions, and it's
We can have
just
an open discussion about it as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. Or you do that next week? Yeah.
Yep.
Tuesday, 10 to 2. Okay.
And,
I'll let you take this, Ashley.
okay, where's my Zoom screen? Where did you guys go? You're there. Share screen. You guys, I think Anna Marie's laughing at me for all my technical issues today. It's fine. Okay, there you guys are. Sweet. Video panel. Okay, so you guys, I'm sure, have heard of all of the stuff going on in the last few days and all the articles online and all the talks of the NAR settlement and a whole bunch, and probably all the forums online and what other agents are saying, and like the sky is falling. Oh my, it's not.
It's not.
The sky is not falling. So we're not gonna go super duper in depth, but it's essentially, here are the 5 things that are going to change likely. It still has to go through the final little court thing, but it's probably likely mid-July. So nothing is happening now. This value squared class is just gonna help you to be able to explain your value, because you need a buyer's agency agreement anyways, which we've all been in good practice of getting. So this is gonna help you, because I'm sure you're gonna have buyers and, you know, clients now that are gonna be asking about it and know like what's going on, because they see all of the news articles that a lot of them aren't explaining this very well. And just,
Commercials, it's like, now you don't have to pay anything, no commission, stuff like
yeah,
that. It's just
and
ridiculous.
just the standard
exactly-
6% commission is gone. I was like, it's always been negotiable. Anyways, so we're gonna look at the actual language of what it's saying, so you can be more prepared when it becomes a thing. And just so you kind of understand what the main difference is, and that the sky is not falling. Stuff, you know, is gonna change, but we just adapt to change and, you know, kind of see what happens. But so the first one, buyer agency agreements required, which we've been in good practice of doing that since the 1st of January. And if you want more conversations of how to explain it, let me know, or many, you know, you can ask many people in this office how they explain it. And so you have to disclose the rate of compensation or the amount. The amount of compensation must be set in the agreement, which, you know, now that form is 3 pages and it goes over to different scenarios and separates buyer and listing side. So it's, or, you know, buyer side, depending on how it's going to be paid. So it's really nice. It makes it super duper clear. So agents cannot receive compensation for brokerage services from any source more than the amount or rate agreed upon in the buyer's representation agreement, which, I want to, again, this isn't going to go into effect in July. I personally have a question about that one, because our buyer's agency agreement does say that if the listing is offering more, we can choose the box to say to get. So that kind of conflicts with that. So I'm sure we're gonna see updates from NW, MLS.
What I heard on the call I was just on, or yesterday's call, if it's explained on the form, if you've marked on the form that if
Mhm.
this happens, you get more and everything, that's fine. It's when you've settled on this is gonna be the rate, and then after the fact, you're over here just saying, oh, well, if you do that, you'll get more. If it's
Okay.
on the paper, you're
By the
good.
way.
Yeah. So in case you guys couldn't hear Kelly, because I'm having different speaker issues. So her understanding is likely because our forms address those different scenarios, then this should be fine. It's just if you, are changing it, rate it kind of the moment. So I'm sure there's gonna be some changes to our forms coming mid-July, because they're gonna add more disclosures of, you know, things to make it very, very clear that you don't have to, anyways.
That it's
So,
negotiable.
yeah,
It's
everything
always
is.
negotiable, no
Mhm.
matter what, it's negotiable, right?
So educate yourself, so the public understands our value and what the rules are and what the actual facts are.
And we'll help with that as well.
Yes, because every agent should do that.
Yeah.
So, the biggest thing is that offers of cooperating compensation cannot be made on the MLS. So right now in the MLS, you go in, you see whatever percentage is offered to the buyer's agent, that's not going to be there. So, that's the biggest thing to it. And I'm, you know, which in reality, you have that buyer's agency agreement, you have the compensation conversation beforehand, and we should be showing buyers all the houses that are an option. Even if you have ones that say like no percentage offered, you can call the listing agent. You can show it, you can look at your comps and see if it could still appraise, if you stack the price. I mean, there's so many different things you can do. So I can kind of understand why they changed this, because they don't want agents to just, oh, I'm not gonna show the house because it doesn't offer me enough.
Especially
It's not
if now
fair.
the option is 0%,
Yeah,
right?
yep,
So there's a risk that agents may not show it.
Yeah.
Right? So you're
so,
gonna have to become very familiar, and that's why we're doing that thing on next Tuesday with you, what your value proposition is and what you offer your buyers and sellers. And you're gonna have that like kind of more like a written agreement for you. This is what I accept, this is what I'm gonna accept, and this is why I'm gonna accept it, right? And then you can move forward with it, but you're definitely going to have to be very versed and understand all the options. Like really understand all the options, not just, oh, that's what they're offering. What am I gonna negotiate now? How can I negotiate? What are all the options in negotiation? That's what's gonna be happening now.
could you guys hear Lois on Zoom?
You're gonna have to be a master of it.
Okay. So what Lois was saying
Oh,
is,
sorry.
oh, no, it's fine. I mean, we're used to that speaker
Yeah,
just being
I'm
nice
way
and
back here.
nice and
Yeah,
happy.
for-
Well, it'd still probably get mad at you anyways.
Okay.
So what she was saying is you have to just know how to explain your value, and which this class is really going to help with that. I'm also in the Roundup notes. I'm going to put our value proposition that, Marcia had typed up and her and Russ kind of worked on to make it easier for you to verbalize what your value is and kind of, list out all the things.
And that's a great document. If you
Mhm.
don't have it, make sure you get one before you leave, because that is a super document.
Yeah,
It just
it's-
gives you kind of point by point and why, and really spells it out for you.
Yeah, it's like 3-4 pages
Yeah,
of just good value. Thank you,
Yeah.
Marcia. We love you.
Thank you, Marcia.
Yes. So yes, not going to show offers compensation to the buyer's agent. Doesn't mean it's not there, because it can be made off of the MLS. The listing agent and the seller can have that conversation. They can have like, okay, we would offer one. It's just not going to show there. So call your listing agents, answer your phone if you're the listing agent, which I know all of us in the office do that. Yay.
We have a voicemail.
Right?
Yes, make
Yeah.
sure. I had my voicemail full for a while. Ugh, I was that person. Anyways, so it does say here, so nothing in the settlement prohibits sellers or listing agents from making offers of cooperative compensation off of the MLS, email, newsletter, calls, texts, etc. Be TCPA compliant, please.
Can you
So,
explain that, what that is for our new?
don't message and call people that you do not have the permission to call. So don't just go on Spokio or some website where you can just buy their phone number or look it up. And yeah, if you have written
Somewhere on the
consent, you
don't
check
call.
the do not call registry. Just, yeah, don't go be liable for just calling people that can sue you for contacting them. So I also have a lot of info on that. So if you want more info, I can send it to you.
And if you're working in production, new people, you will get all that info.
Yes,
From,
yeah,
that
we will
stuff.
keep you all legally safe. So, yeah, so it's not gonna be on the MLS. It can still be offered. It can be, talked about other ways. It's just not gonna be advertised. Brokers can publish offers of that compensation for their own listings on their own websites. So, that's something to think, which, there'd be some ways you could do that. Again, this isn't gonna be till July, so we'll kind of figure out maybe with KW sites if they're, anyways, we'll get there, cause it's March. So,
And in a KWR conversation with Gary Keller, he was suggesting that you actually have a flyer with some of the agents that you have worked with or have a relationship with. And let them know that this is kind of the direction that you're taking, so that they're familiar with that. So that was one of the things that came out of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then agents must make commission disclosures. So I'm sure this is where our MLS, we're probably gonna see some new forms and listing agreements and I'm sure they're just gonna put some language there of disclosures when it comes to commissions, that they're not set by law and they're fully negotiable.
That's right.
Yep.
And that's the thing, really.
Yeah.
You still determine what it is that you want.
Mhm. So yeah, don't read all of the big news articles that say just ignore the news. It's all, it's all just bad stuff. And don't go talk about commissions online with all of in all the Facebook realtor groups. And yeah, just, I don't know, it's best to just kind of stay out of that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Whatever, don't do it.
Don't do it. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. You wanna talk? Oh, come on up.
Oh, this
Come on,
one's
so everyone
not,
can see you. You don't wanna?
You want me to talk?
this one,
Okay.
this
Okay.
one's not her yet, but I'll skip ahead.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait,
I'm sorry.
what was the time on that?
No, it's fine. That
Oh,
was,
yeah, that
that was
wasn't it.
prime lending.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
fine
but
with
you
me.
know,
I was
now,
like, Yeah.
now you're up.
Now you're up.
Tuesdays and
Sorry.
Thursdays, I will be here. 9:15 to 11, and, lead generation is super important for all of our businesses, and I'm gonna be here, and I'd love to see you guys, any of you that wanna come.
I have a
If it works
question. What do
out.
you do in that class? Like, what do you do during that time?
Well, like we'll pick who are we calling? Are we calling, expired listings to see if they want to relist with you? Or are we calling past clients to touch base with them? Or are we, maybe maybe you have a buyer and you're looking for a property that's on the market. Maybe you're calling, a neighborhood that looks like, hey, have you thought about selling? I think, your home could sell right now because I've got people looking,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it varies
How
depending
about new
on
agents?
who's there. New
Yeah.
agents, I would be calling your sphere. Yeah, your people, your friends, family, your barber, your mechanic.
And you're gonna help them, you're gonna help them with.
You're a
the-
mechanic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just people,
And you're gonna help them with scripts and
I
verbiage
do.
and going through all of that?
Like, what do you say? I'll help them with what to say and
Mm-hmm.
how to make it comfortable and not cheesy,
Mhm.
because we don't want to be cheesy, right?
Be yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Tuesday and Thursday,
So,
9:15 to 11.
We
If
have
you wanna
fun.
work personally
see
with
you.
Julie, please be here. Thank you.
Sweet.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Lee. Hey.
Script practice with prime lending, this Thursday. Michael wasn't able to make it today. He had, another appointment. But yeah, this Thursday, noon to 1, Sharon and Michael, they bring snacks, which is wonderful. And also Boomtown people, of course.
Talk about prime lending a little bit and what this means for some of our new.
So prime lending is our exclusive preferred lender. So when you have clients that are interested in purchasing a house, they haven't talked to a lender yet, or if they have and they want a second opinion, because every lender is different, their fees are different, they might be able to get a better rate. You do not know. People freak out about, oh, my credit's gonna be checked. We can tell you as script on what to tell them because it's not gonna drive points down, but anyways.
So we practice those
yeah.
scripts for our, for our buyers.
Yeah.
Right? We practice those here. Yeah.
Yeah, so Sharon and Michael are integrated into the system with Boomtown if you're getting those leads from the office. So, and they have a lot of experience of knowing what to say to get those appointments. And they just have a lot of experience in the industry in helping you know what to say, especially with, these internet leads. There's, certain things to say, and Julie's gonna help with that too, of just knowing how to talk to people. So
When there are
super
special
valuable.
circumstances or anybody that is looking to buy a home, I always refer them back to, just even for a conversation. Where are you? What do you need? What can you do? You know, because, you know, we can know about it, but we're not the professionals in it. And I always like to give it to the professionals personally.
Mhm.
And so the more people you have around you that are the pros that you really like to deal with or work with, these people have been, are
Mhm.
fantastic. They'll answer any question. And as a matter of fact, they'll work with you, even if they're not, you know, even if they're not getting a sale from you, even if they're not getting a customer. Any question that you have regarding financing, I have always found them to be there. Is that your guys' experience as well? Anybody else want to share anything about that?
Well, to recap, yeah, any questions that you have, even if they're already connected with another lender, they are wonderful about answering questions, giving advice. Because some lenders are more creative than other lenders and can kind of think out of the box and find a way to make things work.
On
So,
the listing
good
side too, if
resource.
you have a property that is not a super clear cut, they're great to talk to about what are my challenges gonna be for listing this, you know?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael,
Yeah.
great resource.
mhm,
Great resource.
lots of things. All right. Lois, I believe you are up.
Okay, so Blue Water Homes is
Can you go
another
close
exclusive,
with
oh,
this?
Blue Water Homes is
No.
another exclusive preferred vendor of ours. They're a builder. And all of you should have received a call from either one of us. As a preferred vendor, we are connecting them with our agents that have sold land. And just for the, you know, simple opportunity of speaking to your clients. You get to reach out to your clients again, because we went back 3 years. We're giving you a call. We're letting you know what land you sold, and if you would be open to just having a conversation with them and telling them about Blue Water Homes, or just calling them saying, hey, even 2 or 3 years down the road, if you're gonna build, you know, have the conversation, get them in touch. So Ashley and I have spent a lot of time just connecting with all of you. So please, if you have the opportunity, I know you've done all of yours and I've done all of mine, please reach out to your buyers as soon as you possibly can. And then just let us know, hey, you know, there may be some interest, connect them, and I will connect them. So thank you for your help. We really appreciate it. And also, just as a note, Blue Water Homes is supporting us tremendously to allow us to do some things for our agents that we might not otherwise be able to do. So we're working really hard on that as well. So your help is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
And even if you haven't sold land, if you have buyers looking at land, they are also happy to have that preliminary conversation and kind of help visualize what they're wanting to do. So something you can even get them involved in the beginning of the process.
You're doing upper income stuff.
Not necessarily, because they're, you know, I know that Russ is looking at a couple of homes that are kind of a bit mid, but their construction is incredible. You can speak to that, right? Quality construction,
Yeah.
you know a little bit more about them. But no, as a matter of fact, Anna Marie, I reached out to Anna Marie and she goes, gosh, I got 15 lots and I need 15 homes. The developer wants it, right? So just, yeah, no, I think just the conversation, hey, I've got this, what do you think, right? And they do commercial in their back.
Yeah, I will say, from all the luxury classes I've taken, luxury is not a price point, it is a experience. So, yeah, they are luxurious in that you're gonna have such a good experience. I mean, it is hard to find a builder around here that somebody doesn't have something bad to say about them.
Yeah.
Blue Water Homes doesn't so far. They're fantastic, yeah.
Yeah.
And they
If you
stick to
have
their
anyone,
quotes
you
too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for your help, everyone.
Yeah. And if you haven't been out the roundups or looked at the materials and the notes, if you have questions about them and how they're a bit different, let us know, because I love them. I would like to have a bunch of money to build a house. But yeah, they are, yeah, so renovations and builds, if it's someone that wants just a little, little kitchen remodel, I mean, that's not as much their bread and butter, but they would have some resources to be able to point you in the right direction. If you have somebody that has a smaller request. Yeah, that's gorgeous. Oh,
It
want
is
that
beautiful.
house. Dang it.
Those look like the homes at KP or that are going up at Crescent Bar.
that you have
Yeah.
listed.
That I have listed.
Those ones that you have listed?
Yeah.
Those are awesome.
Pretty.
The little smaller ones I have listed.
And we talked about
That's
Julie.
Right on the. What? He's doing those ones.
Oh,
Okay, so we have Red Day coming up in May 9th. So Red Day, of course, if you guys don't know, it's a big KW thing where they've been doing this since 2009, I think it was, that each year, the second Thursday of each May, all KW offices all over, all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I was looking online that it was, okay, well, don't listen to me. So it's been a long time of them doing things. So yeah, we take the day and we find a way to contribute to the community, do something that's, yeah, just good for our community and good for us, and you get all the feel goods. So if you have any ideas of what you'd like to do, or if you have, either elderly clients that need help in their yard or anything of that respect, you can scan that code or go to that link below, just to give us your recommendation of what you'd like to do. And yeah, submit your ideas.
I was gonna say, this code is meant to be shared on our social medias to put out to the community, for the community to share their ideas with us.
That
What
is
they
great.
want to see fixed in the community, whether it's like garbage cleanup or graffiti cleanup or yard work, like anything like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
And that was explained in the email that you got like 3 or 4 days ago. So thank you, Sydney, for reminding me that that was also the intention, and it says that beautifully in that email. So, yeah, if you go there and, we can also get this QR code to Rochelle and she can put something out there. Anyways,
yeah, she's working.
any questions?
Yeah, and just one thing before we go. Who has a win? What's a win
Oh, yeah,
this
we're
week?
winning.
Anybody have a win? I know KW has a win with our 2 new agents this week.
Yes.
Anybody else?
You know, I'm just scrubbing, so I'm holding it above my heart.
My conversation with the seller of the home in Kashmir and family about in our NAR really went well. That in being able to explain what the value was of the agent in the transaction.
Oh,
Came in, we
fantastic.
started out really bristly and I was just like, okay.
Can you share with us how you handled it?
I just explained, that the commission has never been not negotiable. And that should be part of the conversation in the listing agreement and should be very clear how the commission is paid out. And what the commission does for the buyer and seller agent, and that by not wanting to contribute to the buyer agent compensation, you may be eliminating a pool of buyers that are then excluded from being able to make an offer on your home.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's great.
line, and it went really well.
Good, good.
Thank you. Anyone else? A win?
I listed a development this week.
A development? Like what development?
It's a recreational development, so vacant land in a recreational luxurious community that has like all of these amazing amenities, a private ski slope with 4
Is it-
rotos.
Is it?
Oh my
amazing?
gosh.
Yeah,
What's it called?
it's called the Alpine Lakes Mountain
Yeah,
Club.
yeah.
Oh
Good for
my
you.
gosh, congratulations. That's amazing. That's great. How about you? What are you doing this week?
A lot.
Vanessa has been over her head with transaction coordinating input, right?
Yeah.
Lots of agents coming to her, so make sure that you reach out to her if you need some help. She is all in, right, Vanessa?
Yep.
Doing a great job. Thank you.
All different levels too. I mean, from listing input to just in command, there's different levels.
Yeah.
That I can help too.
Yeah, so she can help with everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Anyone else? Anyone online with a win? Win-win? Okay, everybody have a great week. Enjoy. We'll see you next week, 10 to 2. Oh, Marcia, what's your win?
Oh, no, contracts.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you have
Marcia's
a-
in contracts class, sorry.
If you
Marcia,
have
do you
a
have-
win.
Marcia, do you have a win?
Yeah, you're a
Oh,
little bit.
Unmute. Okay, can you hear me now?
yes.
Oh, good. Yes. And I'm so excited because it's been almost 2 weeks and I've lost 5 pounds. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways,
So Marcia's
so
over,
can we do a share screen?
Yep, are you ready to go?
We will
I'm
do.
ready.
Okay, enjoy.
We will do all the things. Okay, so stay on, if you want to do contracts.
They just dropped this off.
All right.
Okay, yeah, you shared screen. Let me make sure you are the host.
This is just one place. It's, April.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah,
Okay, good. So this is the last of the setting up your templates. And for those of you that are brand new, then either Vanessa or myself, or if you want to make an appointment and come, we can sit with you and we can go through these and help you to set these up. So this particular part right here is just a thumbnail on how to go into your Northwest MLS. Then you go into your transaction desk, and then you go and hit matrix, and then there you'll see a transaction desk, and that might be one step too many, but it's there. And then when you go to the transaction desk, you're going to have all these little boxes on the side, and you pick the hover over the next to the bottom one, and that is your transaction templates. And once you click on that on the upper right hand side, then you're going to add to your template, and then you can set it up so that every time you have an offer on a condo, the majority of the documents are already there in your transaction, and it just makes it a lot easier. Then you just go down and you pick the ones that are appropriate. If it's cash, then you don't need the financing or the seller financing one. And so as we go through this, I just want to talk a little bit about the 28, which is the condominium purchase and sale agreement. And let's see here. If you have tried this and you can't make it work, setting up a template, please call me. I can probably walk you right through it over the phone, or we'll set an appointment after a Tuesday class, and I'm happy to spend time with you. Okay, so on the condominium, if you are writing up an offer for a condominium, then the very first part, before you do anything, you're going to open up an opportunity in Command, and then you're going to use these forms to meet with them and to be able to get started. It's the preference is to do it before you start showing. However, sometimes that's not appropriate. Sometimes you're meeting them for the first time. And so the very first thing that you're going to do as whenever you meet new potential clients or clients, then you want to have this pamphlet, Real Estate Brokerage in Washington, and you'll want to make sure that you give them a copy of this. It's 4 pages. It's really superior over our last one. And then all you have to do, and I'm sorry I didn't get a chance, I'm on my husband's computer and I don't know how to work it, but right in here, there should be their initials and the date. And that's the first contact with your clients in getting paperwork done. The second one is your buyer brokerage service agreement. Now, the whole purpose of a template is to be able to have documents downloaded. And then there's also the opportunity, if you save it to your template, then whenever you download that document, some things will be filled in. For an example, on the buyer brokerage, the name of our firm, Keller Williams Realty NCW. I have, for just purposes, I have a large font, but you can put the whole thing in there, or it's okay to put Keller Williams Realty NCW. That, unless you change a brokerage, that won't change. And then if you download it and input your name here, you're going to determine if it's going to be exclusive or non-exclusive. And then the other place, let's see, you just want to make sure that you fill in the buyer's email and buyer's phone number. This is a document that stays within our system. This should not be going to other brokers or other firms. And in the event that something happens and we can't get a hold of you and we need to get in touch with your buyers, that's why this information here is really important. If you can't do both, do at least one. And by now, in this development of this conversation, you should be able to have both of these information. This is, again, a place, where you can put in the name of the company, the name of the firm's license number, and then if you forget about it or don't know where to find this, then this is something that's very easy to find in Northwest MLS. And that's where you go in, log in, and then if you hit your realist, then along the top, it will have roster. And then you just put in right here, let's see, oh, it's not on this one. 5488 is our company, and then you'll be able to get their license number. You put your email here. This is where your signature and date is going to go, your lag number and your cell phone number. So there are some of these things that you can fill in that make it very convenient for you. And the next form is a 42. Once again, it just reiterates that we have that discussion with the clients, talking about the brokerage and who represents who has a fiduciary responsibility. And here you can fill this form in with your name, your license number, the name of the company, their license number, and then if you're representing the buyer, then you would put buyer here. This is where your signature and date's going to go. And then there's a drop down where you can put in buyer. Now, in the event that you become a limited dual agent, then I would actually get a new one of these forms. And I would have both the buyer and the seller. And that signifies they understand that you have you're in a limited dual agency. And especially for any of you new ones, if you have questions while I'm doing this, then please stop me. Okay, so you have those, and let me just whip that over here. And then that is that first thing. This is where you open up your opportunity in command, put in all your clients' information, and then you upload these documents. And what I see a lot in compliance is I see on the very same day, these documents are uploaded and then they upload a contract. In the event that we are audited, you will be fined because the agreement with the Washington state is that we have our buyer brokerage firm's compensation discussed before we start showing. And sometimes that feels awkward, but once you get used to it, it's just a new habit. It's just a new way. I loved it when, I don't remember, it might have been Julie, where she said she bought, she bought, real estate in another state. And the way the broker explained it is, well, we're at a point where if you want to continue working with me, I need to have this agreement because it is the law. And that's just a real simple way to be able to explain it. Okay, so we're back in the transaction desk. And then what you can do is you can just download all of these all these documents, and there are 2 more on this page, and you can download them all, and then just always remember to go back up to the top, and to save them, you hit update. And then if you go out of your template, then you can go back in and just double check and make sure not only are the forms in there, but where you've pre-filled pre-fill some of them. And there was something else, but that thought lost me. Okay, so these are all the forms that you need to download to make your template. And I'm going to just go over here and let's look at these documents. On the condominium, there will be a title. Unlike a manufactured home on leased land, there is no title in that offer, but there is a title, and the title clearly specifies what is there that they're buying as a fee simple, what that is. And so there are some things in here that not only can you pre-fill out, but some things in here as we go through this document that is really important. So it's just like every other one, the date you're writing it, if there is an MLS number or not. If there's not one, that's usually because it's an unlisted sale. And then the offer expiration date. And this contract, if you have the form, the Exhibit A, which is the legal description, if you have that, then it isn't necessary. I mean, it's good information, the MLS number and also the tax parcel number. I didn't realize that until I started to work in contracts heavily, that it's something that because you have the Exhibit A, then this number and your tax parcel number is not legally required, but it's beneficial. It's better for you to put it in there. It's just one more check. I'd like to just remind you that once you have the buyer and the buyer's name, what is their status? Are they married? Are they unmarried persons? Is this an LLC? And this status has a down arrow, and it will give you a lot of options. And I would like to say just once again, we just went through this just a couple of weeks ago, where it got really close to the closing date. And this particular offer had the name of a person. And then over here in the second part, it had and or assigns. Now for a seller, what you're saying when they sign this is that you're approving that and or assigns with just by signing this document. So there is other locations where you'll want to put in there, if it's and or assigns, that you'll put the language upon the buyer's approval. And then possibly maybe a time limit that if you use the and or assign, that they need to be identified so they can be vetted at least 10 days before closing. So I know that this is a program to protect buyers or working with buyers, but for those of you that have listings or might do a dual listing, if you have a condo listing, it's really important that if it has and or assigns, that the seller understands their liability. Okay. If we go through here, you look where it says property and the parcel number, the unit number, the residential condominium. And that could be like, here, I just wrote one up for a slip, but it was under a condominium listing. And so the residential condominium, it's Sunset Marina is the name of it. And then you put the address for it. Remember, you have the unit number up here. And then there's kind of like a magic date. If this is a resale, then we will click over here, attached as Exhibit A, is that you will mark that. And then very, very carefully go through and identify what are all the items that are staying, and have a really good discussion about that, not only with your buyer, but also with the listing broker, so that it's very, very clear. And you notice all of these have an S. So if there's more than one refrigerator, you're just checking the one box. So you need to make sure that if they had one, like if they have in a condo, a small utility room and they have a small freezer or something like that, then you'll need to identify it so that it is clear what it is. Otherwise, after closing, you may be buying a washer dryer. So this is for your liability. You need to be really careful about that. Purchase price, earnest money, delivery date. I have been seeing a lot of people that are putting 2, maybe 3 days, and it's not enough time. I would really encourage you to use at least 5 days. If they're mailing a check to the closing, to the title and escrow, then allow 7 days at a minimum. So I like to always check the closing age. The earnest money is going to be held. As a firm, we do not have a trust account. So the buyer brokerage firm, we never collect that. So that is never checked. And that's why I feel comfortable saying the closing agent. And then this is number 8. I had 2 last week, where the default. Talk with your client about what that means, and that the forfeiture of earnest money. And then your title and your closing agent. Possession. Once again, I just want to say and or before or sooner does not, we want a date specific. So let's say we're saying April 30th, and your buyers are all pre-qualified. They went through a house, the deal fell through, the lender's on board. It's not going to take 45 days, but you're going to allow enough time for that to work. And so this would be very appropriate for you to have a discussion with the listing broker and say, if we're able, would your sellers like to be able to close 2 weeks earlier? And then if you have a mutual deal, you have a contract, then you will use the Form 22Y, modification of the closing. But you never want to put and or before or sooner. And the only other exception to not having a closing date is if it's a contingent sale. And then you would either leave that blank or you'd put C Form 22B. You need to mark which one of these, possession. If they, almost always, they'll want to have the 22K. And then you hear charges and assessments levied before and due after closing. If you're working for your client, we can start out with prepaid by seller. So let's say they're doing a large sewer upgrade or something like that, and they've notified the condominium that each condominium owner is going to be assessed $10,000. And they have the option to either buy it all at one time or to spread it over months and include that with with your HOA fees. So as a listing broker, you need to find out and make sure that there are no assessments coming up. And if they are, you need to really fully disclose that in your listing. And once again, if not, the liability there is you're opening yourself up for liability. Number 14, if you don't know and the listing broker has not listed out what the FERPTA is, whether they're not a foreign person or they are, you can leave that blank. And if they sign everything else but the listing broker fills that in, that does not constitute a counteroffer. And so they can fill that in. So a public offering statement. Whenever there's a brand new condominium that's opening up, then the listing broker will list up and have as a document as a public listing, a public offering statement. And this has all kinds of things. It has the maps, it has the CC&Rs, it has any of the information that's regarding that particular condominium will be one package. And so that will probably be in Associated Docs, or you'll need to get it delivered to you. So right here, if it is not there, then it needs to be delivered. And then, and this is the public offering statement, that's brand new condominiums, or a resale certificate if this is the second or more owner of this condominium. And on the resale certificate, we're asking somebody in the HOA to go in, and it's 3, maybe 4 pages long. And they're just verifying that there's no assessments. They're verifying if the HOA dues are paid up to date, all of that. I would put in there at a minimum 10 days. And we want to give them an opportunity to be able to fill that in. If it's downloaded, if there's a form up there of 27, usually that's not in Associated Docs, but you'll want to have that be a part of your contract. So then this is the HOA fee, and usually you collect 1 month. And then what they do is the condominium then keeps that in as a deposit for non-payment or whatever. I mean, it has to be applied if you leave. So the information period, that's just making sure everything in the listing broker, the sellers, and the form 17, everything checks out. And it either expires, the default is 10 days, or if you want to have it longer or shorter, or if you've seen everything, if it was my buyer, I would put a date in here. I would never give away. There's another opportunity if they wanted to get out of the deal to protect your buyer. And then agency disclosure, you're the buyer broker. You may be the buyer listing and the listing broker. So you have a limited dual agency. Or the seller is represented by the listing broker, or if it's up here, then that covers the dual agency. If they're the one writing it, then they would need to represent that. Then remember that the listing percentages take precedent. And that's why when you have a change in the listing, percentages or dollars, that you need to have a designated broker signature on that form for that particular action. That's form 19, and there's a place there where it talks about revision of the buyer brokerage firm compensation. Otherwise, you just put in it's a percentage, and offered in the listing. So you put a percentage and then 1.75 or 3.5 or whatever it is, and then click pay as offered. And then this addenda on item number 20 is where you list out what are the documents that are going to be a part of this contract. And so then you'll go through. Now, here's a place for you also to pre-fill so that it just comes down and you don't have to look it up every single time. The only reason I know that our office Department of License number is 20527 is because I've written it a million times. But it really helps if you get as much information out as you possibly can. So then you pre-fill in this, you pre-fill in your name here and your lag number, the office phone number, the office firm number. And if you forget how to get to this, you go back into the Northwest MLS and you go into Realist, and then across the top, it will say roster, and you will get all of that information there. Our office at KWNCW.com, every time you submit an offer or a document, you need to copy them so that they have, Kelly keeps an extensive file. You also will need to put that into your command. Your email address, your Department of License number, and the firm's license number. Okay, so especially for you new ones, I really encourage you to go through and take a look and read these contracts, because this is, if they have a question on the first page, this is where it comes back and it gives all the explanations. And there were a couple that I just wanted to, this one right here is the assignment. Buyer may not assign this agreement or buyer's rights hereunder without seller's prior written consent unless the parties indicate that assignment is permitted by the addition of and/or signs on the line identifying the buyer on the first page of this agreement. So once again, I just want to, point that out. Your counteroffer, any change in the terms presented in an offer or counteroffer other than the insertion of a change to the seller's name and seller's warranty of citizenship status, that's that FERPTA, shall be considered a counteroffer. So if you're not doing anything and you put in and/or signs, then it's really important to understand that your seller in your counteroffer representing the seller coming back, you probably should put a time limit of this needs to be done 10 days prior to closing, and then put in with the seller's consent. And if you need exact wordage on that, then I'll look that up. And by look that up, I mean my husband, Tom. He's my contract specialist. Okay, so if a party makes a counteroffer, then the other party shall have until 9 on the counteroffer expiration date, and that's that upper right-hand corner, unless sooner withdrawn. Acceptance shall not be effective until a signed copy is received by the other party. So it's really important, especially as we get busier this spring. If you get your client to sign it, send it off to the other party right away so they don't lose a sale. Okay, and that goes back to general term K, and that's just where you go up here and you just go back and you take a look in here at what that means. These documents are really important to be able to understand. And then also, when you go into Northwest MLS and you go onto your key page you've got 9 possible possibilities. One of them is a transaction desk. One of them is the relist, which puts you into where you can input a listing number, all kinds of things you can do there. But well, I have lost my train of thought here. Let me think a second. Okay. If it will come back to me. If there's no expiration date specified in that upper right-hand corner of the counter of the offer, or in the lower middle of the page on the counter offer, then it's 2 days. That's the default, is 2 days. Okay, and this goes into more explanation. I said before that buyer verification, if there's nothing written in there, the default is 10 days. And here we are on this one, the public offering statement. That includes their declaration, what they're going to make a condominium, survey map and plans, association articles of incorporation, bylaws, rules, regulation, budget, and balance sheet. So that's what is supposed to be in a public offering statement. And so it's a large group. When we had Sunset Marina, our binder was like this. I mean, it was really thick. And then it says buyers shall be conclusively deemed to have approved the public offering statement unless within 7 days following receipt, the buyer gives notice of the disapproval of the same. And there is a form in the 90s section that says they disapprove the public offering statement right there. The resale certificate, once they receive it, then the 5 days from the receipt, the buyer gives notice of disapproval, and if it doesn't, then it's automatically approved. But if they, again, this is a way for the buyer, if they read all the rules and regulations, and maybe you have pets, and maybe this condominium doesn't allow pets. So, I mean, there are things that they're going to find out when they look through all of the material. The condominium assessment is the HOA fees, and that's where you have a deposit equal to, and then how many months to be paid by the buyer at closing. And just keep that in mind. I usually just use 1 month. I've seen where they do 6 months, and what an imposition on the buyer. So let's say you have a HOA fee of $200 a month, and you put 6 months there, then you have to come up with extra money at closing that many times the buyers don't have. Okay, so these are the documents that we have downloaded. So if they're financing, then you have the financing document, and then you just go through and you fill it out appropriately. If, let me see, I don't know where you're, okay, that's all right. If you are doing seller financing, then this is the form that you would use. And I will say one thing, typically on a condominium, I've never seen that. It's not that it isn't possible, but usually if it's land, it's probably more probable but I have done a few of the seller financing on houses. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. When you go to the express forms, and you will have all the P1, 2, 3, I think there's 5 or 6 of them now. That's the brokerage pamphlet. That is lead disclosure. I mean, the pamphlet, and there's a couple of others that are there. Once, if you go in there, and you see on the left-hand side is the form number. If you pull that up, that's like one of these forms. But if you look on that same line and you go over, there's an MAN, and that means it's a manual. And the manual, like for the 28, Form 28, is 11 pages long. And there's all kinds of good information in here about it. Your job as a real estate broker, and by the way you fill out these forms, you have limited duties of an attorney to, one, pick the right form, and two, to fill them out properly. And so between myself and Ashley and Tom is another great resource. Don't hesitate to call if you have questions about it. But I would really recommend the first thing you do is go back to that form and go, wow, I wonder how I filled that out. Go to the left side where the form is, go over to where the manual, and 90% of them have a manual that will go through and talk about it completely. Let me see. Okay. So that's what I was going to talk to you about. And then 22D, now we're getting in any form on that list that has an asterisk, is what is called our KW office best practices. So for all offers on residents or whatever, if you take a look at this form that I had here, you will see that these are the forms that our KW office has said for best practices. We want you to use these with every offer. So you have a 22D, you have a 22K, and sometimes you'll pull that down from the associated docs in the listing. We always recommend a 22RA, which is an attorney review, a 22T title, and the last one is a 22VV, which is a homeowner's insurance. These are forms to protect your buyers. These are forms also to protect us, so that we're doing a really good job of explaining this whole transaction. Real estate transactions are not simple. I remember when I first got my license, and then we sat down with Russ, and our first deal, I believe, was a land deal. And then we went back to the office and we sold it. And then we looked at each other and said, okay, now what do we do? So Russ came in, and he is in Northwest MLS, and he's throwing these forms in there and all together, and he's sitting there literally, and his computer, he types at like 100 words a minute with very few mistakes, and he's just going through this form, the next one, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, I have a license, but I have no idea what I'm doing. And that's why at the very beginning, we encourage you, and I believe it's mandatory, that you have sessions with Ashley so that she can take you through the different documents and how to fill them out and be there as a resource. How do I word this? When do I use that? And of course, I'm available as well. Okay, so we're back to D, and this is where you can pre-fill that in. And that is always, and this protects us, and this protects everybody, that we're representing this is an approximate. It's up to them if they want to survey and get exactly 0.58 acres. I mean, this is to protect us. Also in the title insurance, the ALTA right here, the ALTA form of policy is what is in effect, unless they want to go to these two, this is inferior, and this is way more expensive. So that's why we always leave this part blank. And then depending on your condominium, you want it to be clean, you want their personal property to be removed, and this identifies the utilities. Now you see it says to the best of the seller's knowledge. So if you are checking these because it's on the listing, then when they sign this, they're verifying that it is, these are the ones. New construction. Is there anything that's leased? Have they leased their Starlink antenna, or did they buy it outright? HOA, how many days do they get to look at them and make sure that they want that? That's important for your buyer. I always like to give them at least 10 days. If the homeowners association, if there's a fee, then I click that one and then I click the seller. And that's a term that's negotiable. Not very often, but they may come back and say, no, the buyer needs to pay that. Here are excluded items where you can list them out. The best advice is to remove them, if at all possible, before you start showing them. And then there's no discrepancy. And then not only that, a lender, if they're doing any kind of lending, sometimes lenders really don't want to see things here. They want them to be removed. Or if you put in here that that the seller is whatever, what's that phrase, honey? The seller, I have it written down, but it's where that whatever they're leaving is of no value, no monetary value. And then that way the buyer doesn't have to pay sales tax, which is over 8% now, on an estimate of what those furnishings or appliances are. So usually your appliances convey, that's because they're attached, so they go with the home, and you just need to make sure that's really, really clear. I've seen a lot of home warranties that have been coming up, and that's a really great thing for a seller, especially if the home is over 10 years. And then that way, what you're doing is you're saying, like, everything works as fine as I'm concerned, but I'm paying for this home warranty so that the first year, if the refrigerator or the air conditioning or something goes out, that's all covered. That's a very nice selling point. And then here's the pre-fill. You check 12, and there's two statements that you include in there. Buyer acknowledges that they have received and read, and this is the new word, the new broker's pamphlet, real estate brokerage in Washington pamphlet. So you're just acknowledging that in one more place. And then unless it's an estate sale, then the seller agrees to deliver Form 17. Oh, and that should be seller disclosure right in there.
Is the wording for the personal property?
Within 5 days, let's just do this, a mutual agreement. Okay. And the wording on the furnishings,
Reference form 22D, page 1.
I'm going to include that in the notes, but you reference the form, which is 22D, which is what we're in right now.
Item 4, personal property.
And it's on page 1. So you reference form 22D, optional clauses, and then page 1, and then it's this is item 4, and you write it out, personal property, and then a colon, and then you write in there,
The furnishings in this residence identified by the seller shall be included in the sale strictly for the convenience of the seller and shall be of no monetary value.
Okay, so Tom read that in the background, and I don't think that you heard that. I will include that in here on how to word that, where they leave whatever personal property they leave. It is for the benefit of the seller and no monetary value. So if anybody has a question, please open up your microphone and don't hesitate to ask. And there's nothing in the chat box. Okay. Let me put that right there. Okay, the next form that's there, if you have a cash buyer, then you're going to want to use, instead of 22A and C, you're going to want to use 22EF. And this is where it defines if they have non-contingent funds. You know what this means? I can write a check. It's in my investments. It's in it. I can access that money right today. That's what non-contingent funds. So contingent funds then are if they are, and if you have a 22A, you don't need to put in here a loan unless for part of the down payment, then it is a loan from or a gift. If you're selling the following property, it's a gift, and you have to list out who it is. And then you'll want to make sure with your lender, if there is a gift, let's say that grandma gives them $50,000. And so you have a check here, and then you put a gift of $50,000 and then Grandma Marcia. You need to put Marcia Brasher in here so that we know that's a real human being. And then you need to find out how long does that have to be in your account. Now, I was working with another broker, and mom and dad are selling. This is like a triangle. They're selling their property, and part of that proceeds, they want to give over $100,000 to go toward the purchase of the home that their kids are buying. And the seller of the home the kids are buying the parents' property. I mean, it's really convoluted. But anyways, so what we put here is that the gift and who it was from, and that is from the sale of, and then the property address. So your lender really needs to understand and remember, if we inadvertently fill this out wrong, we could be subject to fraud, as well as our buyers and the brokerage. So it's really important that when you go through this, you use it for the first 2 times, 3 times. Make sure somebody just kind of reviews it with you and make sure you understand. Buyer shall provide evidence to the seller 10 days prior to closing if the funds are relied upon in this section or are immediately available to the buyer. So on this one, because it was a simultaneous close, we needed to put that someplace else. Those terms are different than here. And so that would go on a Form 34. Okay, so that's that one, and there's really nothing there to pre-fill. If you take down a 22J because the condominium is older than 1978 and they have one filled out, just remember that when you download it, they're not going to have the date your offer is written or the buyer's name. So make sure that that is included when you take that document and put that as a part of your contract. And this is a document that may have to go back once or twice, but make sure that you have your signature as the buyer broker and the listings signature seller initials, both pages, and the buyer initials, both pages on the bottom. Right here. The seller signs here. And then as the buyer broker, you're going to want to have their initials here. The buyer has received the above seller's disclosure and all documents, if any. So you just put their initials there. 89, 95% of the time, there are no documents about the lead base. The only exception to that might be if there was an insurance claim. And so they went in and they remediated that. So you remediate it by covering over and painting, or there's a special thing that they do. If they've done that, then they should have forms for it. Here, the buyer has received the family, the Protect Your Family from Lead, and that's that lead disclosure pamphlet. You want to make sure that you give that. And so in your documents that you're going to set up in command, then if it is older than 1978, then have your buyer's initial that they have received that. Okay. The same thing with identification of utilities. If the listing broker puts that in the associated docs, this part will not be filled out. And remember, any utility that's identified needs not only the name, but the address, city, state, and zip. And if that's not included, even though it's fully signed down here by the buyer and the seller, then compliance will return that and ask you to provide the addresses. A really great services as a listing broker to have that all done. We had a discussion about these are ones that can be leaned. However, if you have like, I just went over this 2 days ago, somebody has a Starlink satellite, and they're going to assume their lease agreement or their services agreement with Starlink, then you'll need to put that into your, like a 22, like a Form 34, that the Starlink system and satellite shall be conveyed to the buyers at mutual agreement. And then that way it's up then to the escrow people to make sure that that's all, everything is up to date and taken care of. This is another one of our starred ones. We always recommend you can pre-check this, the buyer's attorney review period within 5 days. It seems like a lot of documents, but this is what Russ, who's our OP, our designated broker, and the owners of the company have said, these are the documents that we want with every offer. Same thing with title, and the only one that doesn't apply to is if it's a manufactured home on leased land. So I like to check that upon the receipt of the title to give my buyer plenty of time. And I just fill in 5 days, even though it says 5 days if not filled in. I do that in my template and then it's done. Homeowners insurance, same thing, fill that part out. We need to make sure they have plenty of time and really encourage your buyers. This is something you want to get, make sure that you can get insurance for this new residence. And then another document, this is a modification of the closing date. And the other day I saw one where it said they changed the date. And then down here, they reference back to form, like in this instance, be 28, and then whatever the closing date is, and they put it in here a second time. That just creates confusion. All you need to do is that you're in agreement to change. So that's why on or before or sooner should never be a part of our contract. Let's have a date specific. And then if everybody gets everything done and it can close early and it works well for both parties, then you use this form. And then the last form, oh, I'm sorry. And I want to go through this in the event that if you have a resale, which the majority of your condominiums are going to be, you just fill out the unit number in whatever the condominium is and what are the buyer's names. And then they fill out the rest of this. There's a lot of information here that they have to gather. You're going to initial it that you know, you're going to be purchasing that property, so you want that. Then it will be returned back to you with the appropriate information filled out. And then it will be sent to the sellers. The sellers will sign it and then they'll send it. And then depending on the number of days that you have in your contract, see, there's a lot of information in here. So there are 4 pages. And if there's anything coming up, there's an assessment that will come up in the next year. We're putting a new roof on. We haven't finalized the cost of that, something like that, to let the buyer know that there may be a contribution that is going to be coming up soon. This is for the person to date it, the name of the association. Oh, I'm sorry, their position usually is manager or president of the HOA, the association and the preparer. And then your seller is going to sign here. And then when you get this back, then you'll sign it there. If you have an inspection contingency, that's just like everything else that you go through. It's all there. And then the last form is the form 36. And remember, when you're doing a counteroffer, let's say you're representing the buyer and the seller sends back a counteroffer and you don't agree with everything on that counteroffer, then you make a brand new counteroffer. And then you bring forward all of the items down here that you agree with on the old one. And if the purchase price is the same as what's on the purchase and sale agreement, you do not have to put it here. But what you want to do is you are going to put on number 4 who you represents. And right now, this is the buyer. I guess I could have put that in there. And the seller. I might do that before I. Anyways, so this is like a Valentine's card. The person who is sending it is on line 4, and who you're sending it to is on line 3. And it is very confusing. This is a very confusing form. It says, and the undersigned as the buyer in this instance, it's going to the seller's names as a seller. So when you get a counteroffer back from the seller, the listing broker, then this statement right here should be on every single counteroffer. It's getting a lot better. There are very few times I have to go back and say, we highly recommend. This is from our company attorney. This counteroffer addendum takes precedent or supersedes any conflict or ambiguity in the original purchase and sale agreement body and seller counteroffer. That is what goes back from the buyer to the seller. Now, if this were just the seller, the period would be right here. So this is very important to just pre-populate so you don't forget it. Because in the moment you're doing a counter offer, you want to get it together and get it to your buyers and get it back to them and all of that. Okay. Any questions? If not, let me look, and there's nothing in the chat box. All right. Well, this is the final installment for setting up the templates.
Like you can come